Aloha kako, and welcome to the West Hawaii Association of Realtors 2020 Mayoral Candidate Interviews. My name is Kristen Moreland, and I'm the broker-owner of Hikino Property Management. I chair the Government Affairs Committee for our association. Our committee extended the opportunity to participate in our interviews to each candidate who filed. While our association does not endorse candidates, we believe it is important to inform our membership and the community at large. This is an opportunity for the candidates to answer questions related to real estate and real property rights as they pertain to the candidate's platform and policies. The interview will consist of an introduction and short bio, an opening statement by the candidate, and then we will have 6 questions. Each will be a timed response limited to 2 minutes. We'll then have a summary statement by the candidate, and we will conclude our interview. This interview is being conducted by Marissa Ashley of Action Team Realty. Marissa is a member of our Government Affairs Committee. Let's meet the candidate. Harry Kim was educated in Southern Oregon State University, graduating with a BS in education and an MS in economics. He was a medic in the U.S. Army and later a public high school and college teacher. He began working for the County of Hawaii as the Law Enforcement Assistance Agency Director from 1972 to 1976. He was the Civil Defense Administrator from 1976 to 2000 and a 2-term mayor from 2000 to 2008 and another term as mayor from 2016 to 2020. Harry served as an international advisor on natural disaster response systems for the United Nations. He was selected by the National Academy of Science to review the Volcanic Hazards Program for the U.S. Geological Society. At this time, we'd like to welcome you, Mayor Kim, to give us a brief introduction and welcome.
Thank you very much. Outside of that educational and professional, this is my home from birth. I'm married to, as they call a college sweetheart from Oregon. And I have 2 boys. One is back in Oregon as a teacher and one is here on this island working. In regards to, I think in a short time, I gave you my 2 pledges of working. I was in LEA director and I was asked to take over civil defense after the 1975 earthquake. And I made a pledge then that I would try to develop a civil defense agency second to none. And I meant it, second to none, meaning second to none in the world. As I made a joke with the mayor that if I find some place that I consider very good, I'm going to ask for a plane ticket to go there and learn. Not that I achieved at the best in the world, but I think we achieved a lot in having an agency that the people trusted. In regards to from there to being mayor, I made another pledge, and I stick to that pledge that is also connected to the first one. I pledged in regards to government, I will work every single day to gain the trust of the people of Hawaii. And once gained, I will work every day to keep it. I can truthfully say that everything I did was not to betray any trust given. And I asked for the continuation of this work. We are in a very difficult time, and my pledge continues. My goal and role is to make you proud of your government. My goal and role is to make sure that the government does what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. And this I pledge to you.
Thank you, Mayor Kim. And now on to our questions. Marissa?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kim, for being here. And our first question is about permitting. And in 2015, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism released a report for housing demand saying the Big Island needed 21,564 additional housing units by 2025. We are nowhere near this goal. Contractors cite one of their biggest challenges is the time the permitting approval process takes. Our current permitting process is complicated by a lack of effective communication and procedures between approving departments. What will you do as mayor to streamline the permitting process and install time limits for review?
Thank you for that. And I think you know, and probably better than most people in regards to the complaints and concerns of the permitting process from A to Z. And I think coincidentally, just about a week or so ago, maybe a little longer, an article in the Tribune Herald and West Hawaii in regards to finally, after a year and a half of work by the Department of Public Works and Department of Planning, uh, hopefully will make a big difference in the permitting process that will really cut down the complexity and overlapping of things in regards to the permitting process. This is something I think every administrator, have been working on, and we have been working on it, and I think we will be successful in making changes that the average person as well as contractors will be very happy with.
Thank you. And our second question is about workforce housing. Everyone agrees there's a need for more affordable housing on the Big Island. Workforce housing brings housing closer to jobs, alleviates traffic congestion, and promotes healthier families and communities. What ideas do you have to develop and support development of workforce housing?
I think if you contact the main contractors or building people like Hawaii Planning Mill, and I'll use an example. Just recently, we put in, I think, 17 small houses and a corner for the homeless and 30 in Hilo for the homeless. And that is not in isolation. That was part of the total program of developing housing in a factory-made way, in a permitting process way, dealing with developers to make sure that they complied with the housing requirements. And I wish I had more time on this, but I'll show how bad we were. We developed no affordable housing projects with all the major developers in the past, 30, 40 years or so. And primarily because we gave developers an option in regards to in lieu of building cash, and the cash amount per unit was ridiculously below $500. And I'm glad to say this administration was that changed that in the last time, and we will continue to work on that because housing affects everything we do. And then later on in the question in regards to short-term rentals, you'll see the connection on that. I'm proud of what has been done on the permitting. I'm proud in regards to working with the private sector and the developers to address this issue. And I think you will see some results very shortly.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. And regarding zoning, this one is a two-part question about short-term vacation rentals. And we'd like for you to tell us about your position on short-term vacation rentals in both non-conforming and resort node locations, and also if you plan to open any additional properties for non-conforming use permits.
Well, we could spend a whole interview on this one question. As you know, one of the first things that we identified that must be done. This was started literally before I was inaugurated. That team was called together of planning, finance, public works to address the short-term rentals because of the numerous things that people said that we have to address. It was this problem. I think if you know Maui, Kauai, and Oahu during this pandemic situation, I've identified short-term rentals as a major problem in regards to what they had to deal with. I'll pick on Oahu. The mayor stated that there were 8,000 illegal short-term vacation rentals. Kauai stated that they have 1 out of 7 residents homes in Kauai that were short-term vacation rentals. All of it affected lifestyle. All of it affects in regards to even making available units for rental for people who live here. In regards to the questions, this is something that I think we did. It took us almost 3 years to complete that project. And what was completed was to identify short-term rentals and all the rules within that. And I know there was a lot of concerns expressed both on the east and west side in regards to what we're doing. But I think was good. What was done was have zoning for short-term rentals, a fee for conforming, $500 a year. That was a lifetime $500. And leading on to the questions, that $250 were people who were in non-conforming zones. All of this is a goal of controlling a business that had to be controlled. In regards to non-conforming use permits, from here on in, anyone who's non-conforming, meaning you are building in an area that is not zoned commercial or resort, you are non-conforming. and you have to go through an application review process to get that zoning. We are trying to limit it for the good of this community.
Thank you for the information on that. And this one is a sort of follow-up question on the short-term vacation rentals. With the COVID restrictions, a lot of the current owners, the STVR owners, have not been able to rent out their units. And in light of this, would you offer a complimentary extension to the current expiration of the STVR permits through the year end 2021?
The non-conforming people have to go an permitting process annually. Those who are conforming, that is, you apply once and you permit it. It's a $500 fee, and that's all you have to pay. But the non-conformance has to be on an annual basis. And at this point, we have no goals in regards to extending that current year-to-year permitting.
Okay, thank you. And then on the next question, it's about infrastructure. And there are many areas of the island that the responsibilities of the county and the state overlap, and roads is a good example. And if reelected, what do you propose to coordinate the state and the county projects? How do you see that going?
I could name a lot of projects that is already being done. I just told you that I had rushed regards from a meeting of civil defense that included federal, state, and all 4 mayors. And I think it's known that in civil defense and other matters, this island of ours, our county, is known for perhaps the most coordination within all levels of government. And I'm proud of that. I'll give you an example of coordination of infrastructure roads. When Queen Comona Highway was not built, it was this county that wrote to the legislature on the priorities that we place the state highway as priority number 1, and the county will withdraw all applications for a limited amount of money if the state would accept that. In regards to, if you talk to the developers of the highway, I think you will know that we work with them hand in hand in regards to public. Jumping from that to Kehokolole Highway, and in that very same thing in regards to the state government was the one that coordinated with the federal to give Hawaii County 100% of the surplus funds to build that highway. And that takes coordination because the 2 agencies working together. I can openly and proudly say that coordination with the state and county project is an automatic thing that we do and must do and continue to get better.
Thank you for that information. And the last question is about taxation. And the primary source of revenue is the collection of real property taxes. And what other revenue streams do you envision, and how do you plan to balance the budget?
First of all, the balance in the budget, that is a task that you are required to do every year. And I'll take this opportunity to explain the confusion on that. As mayor of the county government, of every mayor, you are required to submit a balanced budget to the county council for review, approval, changes. And a balanced budget, that means very simply, you estimate an X amount of money, now present how you're going to spend that money to the county council. So a balanced budget is an automatic thing. In regards to the first part of the primary source of real property, I think you may know that this administration worked for a long time to expand our primary source of revenue to not only property tax, and you know how hard it was pushed to get the council and ultimately the community to approve the GET expansion, because we felt it is so very important to expand that base. And I think this really proves how important it is to have a single source of anything, whether it be of taxation or whether it be of your economics of resort or anything else. And going back to this, we were successful in it. We have a 0.5% increase in regards to, because of GET to Hawaii County. That equates to roughly, was estimated, of $50 million or more a year because of GET. And what they did was, instead of only property tax, now we have the GET as another base of revenue.
We're so happy that you were able to join us and talk about these questions, and we're hoping that you will give us a final summary.
Final summary is what I stated at the beginning. My pledges have been the same. Running for mayor, I know you've heard it in other politicians, but I never did consider myself that. I don't have a campaign committee. I never have. I never will. I don't have fundraisers. I never have, and I never will. A limited contribution to regardless of whom of $10. And if you do contribute $10, I don't care if you're a corporation or union or anybody else, you have to identify who it's coming from. I stick to that pledge, and everything I do is on that pledge. I promise you that I will do everything I can to justify of your trust in government, because I wanted the people of Hawaii to be proud of their government. And to be proud of their government means we have to do it the way of truthfulness, of honesty in regards to just doing their job. And to the people who are viewing this, I feel I can openly say I kept my pledge. Every decision made was based on one thing: to have you trust your government, and whatever decision we make is to make this a better place.
Mahalo, Mayor Kim and interviewer Marissa Ashley, for your willingness to participate in our program. We wish you the best on Election Day. To our audience, mahalo for tuning in. Don't forget that July 9th is the last day to register to vote in Hawaii. Primary election ballots will be delivered July 21st for August 8th primary, and the general election is November 3rd. Mahalo once again for watching, and please vote. Mahalo, aloha.